So hopefully this will help you for your first race day. You will hear a lot about what moto is your kid in, or have you looked at moto sheets. Right before the start of every race, you will hear an announcement from somebody at the track stating that moto sheets have posted. Moto sheets are just a group of kids racing. So it's just another fancy word for, races, so to speak. In this particular example, we'll kind of look at Christian, right? When Moto Sheets post, generally, a few minutes before races, again, they'll make big announcements of it. I would run over to where they have these posted, which is on a long green board right behind the stands next to the sign-up shack. They'd all be posted. I would look really quick and I would see, okay, Christian is in Moto 5, means he's the kind of fifth group of racers for that particular day. He is racing a total of 4 riders. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's all their names. And I can look at some additional things like what class is he riding in. Novice just basically means beginner. Kids are always going to be paired up in most cases with the same skill level of rider. So you'll always normally have a bunch of different aged or same aged novice riders. In this particular case, it says 10 novice, even though Christian is 8 years old, because if you look real closely at some of these, you'll notice it has their age plus a letter indicating their proficiency level. So 10N, novice, 8N, novice, 10N, 9N. Generally, the highest aged person indicates the class number and the skill set. But USA BMX generates these things at random based on who all turns out for that particular event. And you don't always have enough riders with the same age and same proficiency level to run a moto. You need at least 3 riders in order to constitute a moto. In this case, there are 4 riders. Racing always consists of at least 3 races. 2 qualifying races and the main event. When you look at a moto sheet, I would see that Christian is Moto 5. He's racing these 4 people. There's 4 total riders. And on this very first race, they are going to take the first place person. So let's say Jordan wins on the very first race. Jordan automatically qualifies to go to the main event. He no longer has to race the second race. On the second race, they're going to take the next 2 riders. Let's say it's Christian and Carter. Those 2 riders are going to make it to main. That means that Ian would not make the main event. And now the main event, the last race, would consist of 3 riders. And that would be Jordan, Christian, and Carter. There's always going to be at least 3 races, sometimes more depending on the number of qualifiers, but that's typically for a very large event. When we're looking at a moto sheet, I can also look and go on Christian's first race, he is in gate 4. On Christian's second race, he is in gate 8. At DeSoto BMX and many local places, they don't list what gates they are at the main event. They will tell you when that time comes. You know there. So those are some of the basic things that you want to watch out for a moto sheet. Now, when there's 4 riders, the math will normally work out where they're always going to leave 1 behind or 1 won't qualify. So in most cases, this qualifiers 1, 2. If you were to add them up, it's going to be 3. It's 1 less than the total number of riders. That's how you're looking at a moto sheet. So when you're trying to figure out on the very first race Well, did my kid qualify for the main? Well, he would have to come in first in order for that to happen. On the second race, did my kid qualify for the main? He would have had to come in first or second in order to make his main. Now, sometimes you may not make your main, sometimes you will. We're going to go up a little bit to this particular moto because it's a slightly different. It's the only thing you would kind of see a little different. In this Moto 4, there is a minimum of 3 riders. You'll notice that the qualifiers doesn't have the same thing as it did at the bottom, or on this one. It just says total points, meaning that there are only 3 riders, which means technically there are no qualifying races. All 3 riders will automatically qualify to go to the main event, so they're all 3 getting to race all 3 races. Total points works in similar as keeping score like golf. So if Owen gets first on the first race, he gets second on the second race, and then he gets first on the next race, he's going to earn a total of 4 points. So forth and so forth, right? This person might get 5, this person might get 6, who knows, or 9. Either way, lowest score is what determines first, second, and third place. So total points. Main thing is in the beginning is not to worry about that much stuff. Just at least know total points means he rides all 3 races. Qualifying, which is often, you pay attention to, did my kid get first in the first race, or did he get second or first and second in the second race? Because they're only going to take 3 riders to the main. 1 person would be out. That is basically what you need to know about a Moto Sheet. The rest of the information on there is just additional information you can deal with later, but that's the important part. Now, when you go look at the Moto Sheet, and I see that Christian's Moto 5, if I was just starting out, all I really need to do, I don't necessarily have to worry about these gates. There's going to be a person at the hill at the start yelling out to everybody what moto is coming up, what's next, etc. So when you're down there with your kid, all you really need to know is I'm Moto 5, and I'll listen, and they'll yell out, Moto 5. And they normally would say like, Moto 5, Jordan, Christian, Carter, Ian, come up to the line. And it's pretty obvious. There's a big line. She's going to scan, he or she's going to scan really quickly, look, make sure all the riders are there. And then as she calls you up to the hill, she's going to say, Jordan, gate 6, Christian, gate 4, Carter, gate 2, Ian, gate 7. And then you know what gate to put your kid in, or what gate your kid needs to be walking in if they're doing it by themselves. But either way, there's always somebody there to help them at the bottom of the hill. You just need to make sure your kid's there. Now, one of the other things that you would want to know when you're racing is how many total motos. So how many groups of races are there tonight? Let's just say on a low night, you're talking about 10 to 15 motos, 10, 15 groups. So all that really is going to mean is that they're going to run through motos 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to the last moto, last group. That would be round 1. And then they're going to, without any breaks, immediately go into round 2. So that's important. If your kid's Moto 5 and there's only 10 motos for that night, it's going to go really fast. So you need to be prepared to let your kid race once. You might as well just kind of be over there with the water and everything to give them a really quick break, water, pep talk, whatever you need, and then get back toward the starting hill to get ready for round 2, because there will not be a lot of time. Very large events, state races, things of that nature, you could have 150 motos. You could go up to the stands, you could take a break, a nap if you wanted to, because there's a lot of time between. But for normal local races, it's going to be fast because there's not going to be a lot of motos. You'll get done with round 1 of motos. Then you'll immediately go into round 2 of motos. Those are all your qualifying races. And then they will stop for about 20 minutes for an intermission before they make announcements about if you made your main please go to the starting hill now. So if you made your main, you have to stick around, right? If you are racing like this and you don't make this and you don't make that and you're the last person on at the very end, then you're not racing your main. You don't qualify for your main. You're only racing 2 races that night. It's up to you at that point if you want to stick around, watch races, or pack your bags and go home, because trust me, people do it all the time. But that's pretty much like your first night. That's your Moto Sheet details that you really need to know. When in doubt, when they post motos, a lot of times it's just best to have somebody go up there, snap a picture, just like we did here, of your kid's moto and all the information to it, walk away, and then you can reference it for the rest of the night. You can look at any details you want, ask any questions, but that's Moto Sheets. Hope it helps.